If you're thinking about launching a digital product of some kind, an online course, a coaching program in the near future, then you need to know this if you don't want your launch to be a total flop. Because the truth is, most creators, when they go to launch their digital product, they don't make very many sales, and it's very frustrating and discouraging when that happens. Ask me how I know. I've been in this game for over a decade, launching different digital products over the years, and I've had a lot of failed launches. I've had a few successes as well, but it took me a lot of tries before I really figured out how to successfully launch. So let's dive into what it takes to succeed. There's 3 phases that you're gonna go through when you're launching a product. The first phase is lead generation, and you have to understand the 1 to 3% rule. Basically what this means is only 1 to 3% of people who become a lead, like they join your email list or your online community, only 1 to 3% of those people are going to actually end up buying your program when you launch it. So for example, if you have 1,000 people on an email list, you can expect maybe 10 to 30 of those people to buy your product. And I only tell you this because I've just seen how painful and frustrating it is for people when they launch their program with unrealistic expectations. They think they're going to make a bunch of sales and then they don't. And they think it's a failure, but actually if you look at the numbers, you'll see that what their result was just the statistical average. Like if you have 300 people on your email list and you only make 10 sales of your course, let's say from 300 people, that's actually pretty decent. That's like 3%. That's a 3% conversion rate. So you might think 10 sales is a failure, but it's actually pretty good based on the size of your audience, the size of your list. So now you know about how many leads you need to generate in order to make a certain number of sales. So how are you going to get those leads though? That's the thing you need to ask yourself. So ideally, if you're going to generate leads using like a freebie of some kind, which is what a lot of people do, you have to make sure your free product is irresistible as possible. Most people's lead magnets suck. They're just like, oh, download this little PDF thing that most people are never going to use, or download this ebook that people are probably never going to read. Like you want to give something away that's extremely valuable that other people would probably charge money for. And you also want to give away something that's going to demonstrate your expertise. So a good lead magnet might be like a video training, a free video course or something where you're teaching them something valuable, and that displays your competence, your expertise. So you know how many leads you need, you need a good offer, and now you need to generate those leads. How are you going to do that? I think short form content is the best way to generate leads quickly. I think short form content is ideal because it's easy and fast to create. You can create a lot of videos in like one sitting and batch them all, and you can have like a whole month's worth of videos created in like a day or two. And then you can put those out on social media or run them as ads. But the important thing here is you want to have a call to action in almost every video. A lot of people fail to do this. They just deliver value in their videos and they don't actually make a pitch at the end or show someone the next step and what they should do next. And that's a big mistake because there's people in your audience that want to learn from you, but you have to tell them what to do. You have to say, go to the link in my profile or whatever, download my lead magnet and get started. You have to guide and lead people. Otherwise, they're just going to keep scrolling and probably forget what they even learned from you. So you want to give people opportunities to continue the journey with you. And you do that by making call to actions in your content. So that's lead generation. The next phase is the trust funnel. This is where you're going to be delivering value and helping people get to understand your expertise, what you do, helping people get to know, like, and trust you. There's something called the 7-hour rule, which basically says that someone has to spend about 7 hours with you consuming your content in various forms like a podcast or your YouTube videos or reading your emails, but they have to spend a significant amount of time with you, up to 7 hours, before they're going to trust you enough and be willing to give you a significant sum of money. So online courses are typically priced in the hundreds of dollars, sometimes thousands of dollars. So if you're launching a course and you want someone to give you like $1,000, they're probably going to have to spend at least an hour consuming your content before they're willing to spend $1,000 or more. Basically, you just want people to consume as much content from you as possible, and you want to keep their attention. You want to make sure they're continuing to learn from you, that you're top of mind, so that they can get to trust you, they can get to know what you do, they get a sense for your vibes. And if you can get people consuming your content, they're going to be much more likely to buy from you when the time comes. So I think the best way to get this 7 hours of content consumption, or just get people consuming as much as possible, is to have a podcast, a long form podcast, and a community that kind of goes with that podcast. I found this just works really well because podcasts are easy to listen to. Someone doesn't have to be staring at a screen. They can listen to it when they're walking the dog, when they're doing the dishes. And it's a very intimate form of consumption. Like you're in their ear, you know, it's very intimate. It's very personal. It feels like you're actually talking to them, almost like you're having a conversation with them. So I think having a podcast is a great idea, not just like a video podcast, but an actual audio podcast where people can just put on their headphones and listen. I think that's going to help you get to that 7 hours a lot faster and build a lot of trust with your audience. The next thing you're going to need to understand and implement is email marketing. A lot of people neglect this. They don't send enough emails to their email list. They might only email them once a month or something. And that's just not enough. If you want to have a successful product launch, you need to be emailing people often. I recommend at least 3 times a week. A lot of people think that's like too much, but you have to realize like people aren't opening every single email you send. So if you send 3 emails, maybe on average, people will only open 1 of them. So they're actually only hearing from you once a week on average if you send 3 emails a week. So I actually recommend you send as many as possible, even daily. And I don't think that's too much, especially in today's world where people are consuming a lot of content. They're getting bombarded with lots of different messages. You have to be able to stand out. And one of the ways you stand out is just by getting in touch more often. So that's leading up to your launch. And what those emails will contain is what I call belief building content. So you're not just giving random tips and tricks and teaching, you're also building belief so that when it comes time for you to sell your product, they're already kind of pre-sold on it. You don't want to be in a position where you have to convince people to buy your product. You need to focus on pre-selling your offer and building belief in your solution before you even mention the product. Before people even know you have a product for sale, they need to be sold on why it's important. What are the benefits of this unique system or methodology that you've created? The way that you do things. Why should people care about that? And you want to break the chains, I call it. Breaking the chains of their limiting beliefs. Everyone has beliefs that are like a heavy ball and chain around their ankle that prevents them from taking action to solve their problem. And these beliefs, if you don't break them in advance, when it comes time to buy your product, they're going to come up with excuses of why they can't take action, why it's not going to work for them or whatever. So they have internal beliefs, they have external beliefs, they have excuses that they tell themselves, they have limiting mindsets, and you have to break these so that when you do announce your product, they have already overcome those obstacles within themselves and they already understand why those beliefs aren't true maybe and why they actually can move forward and they can achieve the outcome that you're promising them. And then the final thing that I really think is important is installing optimism. You have to make people excited about your product, about your solution. Help people see that this is going to give them a brighter future. People need to be excited about it, passionate about it, because if they're not feeling something like that, they're not feeling that positive emotion, they're not going to really be that excited to buy when you open the doors to your product. People buy based on emotion more than they buy on logic. You have to help people see the brighter future ahead of them, help them get excited about that future, help them see how much their life is going to be different as a result of implementing this unique process that you've developed, that you're delivering through this program. If you can do all of these things successfully and guide people through these phases, capture the lead, build trust, install optimism, break their limiting beliefs, if you can do all of this, you're going to make far more sales than you would otherwise. The big mistake most people make is they just announce their product without doing any of this stuff first. They don't have the trust of their audience. They haven't broken their limiting beliefs. And so when they announce their product, it's like people weren't even waiting for it. They weren't excited about it. They don't believe in your solution. They don't even know much about it or how it works or why they need it. You need to do all that stuff in advance before you even open the cart. So when you do open the cart, people are already ready to buy. They're already pre-sold on it. They don't need convinced. They don't need a bunch of sales copy from you in order to sell it. You don't have to explain it in great detail because you've already done a lot of that work in advance before the open cart. So I hope you found this helpful. By the way, if you want this blueprint that I presented in this video, you can get it in my Creator Blueprints bundle. There'll be a link down below or somewhere around this video. I think these are going to give you a lot of clarity. I hope you enjoy them. I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.